Welcome back to the Highly Okay podcast. As you can clearly see, I am not Shad, and the people next to me are not Aya and San. And that's because we're in Denmark. We're in the beautiful espresso house in Aalborg, Denmark, and I'm joined today by Barikan on my left side and Alessandro on my right. How you guys doing?
Doing very good. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
And
me.
And me. But I like that you said it for both of us. Make it easy.
So if anyone doesn't know me from the Highly Okay podcast, my name is Jîl Swanî. I've taken over for the podcast for today. And hope you guys like this episode. Anyways, so what do you do on Instagram?
What I do on Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, we need to go back to, I think it was in the late 2016.
Yeah.
I just made, I was actually not on Instagram, I was on Facebook, and I did a very short video, 60 seconds, about forgiveness.
Okay.
After a long conversation with my father. This conversation I wanted with my father, I really tried to get in touch with him for years, and he rejected me.
Yeah.
And then I had this conversation with him, and I felt the true sense of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I was so excited, and I was so great. There was so much gratitude in my whole being, and I thought I want to make a video in Kurdish and share it on my Facebook, and I only had my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
And suddenly, a few days later, one of my friends from Erbil, she wrote me and said, "Is this you?" And I checked the video out. It was me.
Was it still on your Facebook, or was it like spreading around?
It was spreading around.
Okay.
But it was that video you made.
It was the video I made. The first video I made
So
about
cool.
forgiveness, and it was like more than 300,000 viewers and a lot of comments. I didn't have time to go through them, so I thought, wow, people did like this content, and maybe I will make the next one. So I created an Instagram profile, and I continued.
But like, what was it that, because that's obviously a very personal thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To talk about. What was it that made you think this should be on Instagram? This should be on...
That one was not on Instagram. It was on Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah.
And it was only for my own friends and my family members. I wanted to share this experience with them, and it was, I didn't tell them, oh, I had this conversation with my father and how it went out. I just told them that
the value of forgiveness.
The value of forgiveness and the emotion of forgiveness. What is forgiveness? And for me, in that moment, forgiveness was that I could look back and be grateful for whatever happened, and at the same time having this joyful emotion in my body and my mind.
So what's forgiveness to you?
Oh, forgiveness is being grateful for that experience happening for you or to you, and at the same time gives you more life and more joy.
Okay. So also on your Instagram, I've seen quite a lot of your videos, and you talk about self-love and caring for yourself and putting yourself in a position where you don't have to compromise for what you are, right?
Well, what is really important for me to share with my Kurdish community is to stay true with your own nature and who you are.
Yeah. And
value yourself. Not in a way that you think, oh, I'm perfect, and of course you are perfect the way you are, but not like this
but
being
accept
selfish.
your mistakes and
go out, do things you want to do, and be grateful for the life you have, no matter what, because a lot of time in the Kurdish communities, unfortunately, there is a huge pessimism.
Definitely. Especially nowadays.
And nowadays.
Based on jealousy or based on
it's more complex. It's politics, it's the history, it's the trauma, because you have a whole the society where the people is traumatized, both by because of the past, but also how it is like the last 15-20 years has been.
Yeah, nowadays, like for me, one of the things whenever I look on Kurdish social media, it's all about following these celebrities or following this mundane everyday. Like if you go on like Kurdish World Singers, that's the page, right? And if you see one of the any post and you look at the comment section, it's just filled with negativity and it's filled with these people just like hurling words at each other. And like what you do, like as opposed to that culture, I think that's incredible. I really love that.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
Especially because you do it in Kurdish as well.
Yeah, because we don't have that. We don't have that in Kurdistan. We don't have someone being like, I understand this is how it is, and I understand how things are a little shitty, maybe a lot shitty in some instances, but you don't have to do what they do. You don't have to conform to that norm. And I love that. I wanted to ask you about self-love, because that's something that I've noticed you really talk about in your videos. Does everyone deserve self-love?
Of course. How can you ever ask this question?
But
I'm,
no,
I'm
because
so of course. Do you think? Well, you and your friend.
I love that you're speechless now.
Yes, because self-love, it is so important. Imagine, for me, I have struggled personally with self-love because I'm just like and I do give myself this right to say, like every single Kurdish individual, in the Kurdish culture, we are not taught. Not only in the Kurdish culture, it's actually a issue in everywhere in the world. That we are not grown up in a community telling us love yourself and how to value yourself.
But I mean, look now at Denmark, for example, the whole thing of the gender law. You know, like it's
Jante
like,
is also in Kurdish.
Just to clarify,
it's really not only Danish.
Yeah, to clarify for the viewers.
Just that in Denmark, even they have like a law, you know, like cultural law that's based on the fact that don't think that you are special.
So the gender law, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this unwritten law of Scandinavian culture in general. I'm not sure if Norway, but I know in Sweden it exists as well.
They have the same.
In Norway as well?
I think so. I don't know. I don't have any like. Yes, they have, but I could imagine it's in.
It's a Scandinavian
Kurdish,
thing.
It's in Denmark. It's in Germany. It's probably also in your country.
Yeah, but we don't have, you know, we don't have that law as it is in Denmark.
In Denmark, it's a very conscious thing.
Yeah.
They have it in Sweden.
They have it in Sweden and Norway. Yeah.
But let me go back to your question about this.
Sorry, before you continue, because like people mostly watching Kurdistan, they don't know Yandalo. Yandalo is basically an unwritten law of society, where you're told you're not better than anyone, and no one is better than you. But it's a positive thing when you think about it that way. But at the same time, it could be so negative because it pushes people down, like to stay where they are. So that's Yandalo. That's what we're talking about. Sorry, you were saying.
It's okay, no problem. Yes, everyone deserves self-love, and I think it is one of the basic value your child, anyone should know about it and feel it. And for me, self-love is having this relationship to yourself that you are willing to create a better life and a better version of yourself, no matter the circumstances, no matter your environment, no matter time, money, anything.
But like that can also be interpreted in so many different ways. That's a silly example, but we don't want Hitler to have self-love. We don't want him to think, you know what, I'm great, I'm going to do the best I can regardless of circumstances.
No, but
right?
I think the way she said it was quite clear, you know, like you try to become a better version of yourself every day, you know?
But it depends. It depends on person to person what a better version of myself is.
No, you can just divide it. Is it positive or negative?
But what is positive for you?
How can we decide if, let us say, Hitler, he decided that he loves himself? Self-love is that I love myself unconditionally. What matter I do mistakes probably every single day. Yeah. But at the same time, I am willing to forgive myself and create a better me, not for my own reason, for the reason of my family, for life, for my work. It's not like because he was a bad person and all these horrible things he was a part of. Self-love is something I decide to do. It's not I decide or I let you to feel that.
No, but that's my point. What is positive for me might not be positive for you.
Exactly.
And what is positive for you might not be, and vice versa. And like it can be interpreted in so many different ways. Like I could think, you know what? For me, what's important is I become as rich as possible, regardless of circumstances, and that might mean that I might take advantage of a certain person or take advantage of a certain community. And yes, you are becoming the best version of yourself, but at what cost? You know what I mean? So that's why I asked, does everyone deserve self-love?
Let me ask you something. What is self-love?
Self-love is, for me, it's to love yourself, to love your values, to work for yourself and your values.
So if you love yourself, you will never become rich, and at the same time doing it by hurting someone else.
But how is that possible?
It's possible.
Because it can go into arrogance, right? If you love yourself
it's not the same.
But it can't go that way.
No, it isn't.
I think self-love has nothing to do with any materialistic value or anything, or any political value. Self-love is the pure acceptance of that you and your mistakes and everything you are made of is beautiful, and you try to work with yourself and make yourself better every day. With but it's only in yourself, and it has a positive effect on other people because you start accepting yourself.
You become more positive.
Yeah, and you can.
I understand it from that perspective.
The materialistic side, that's something completely else. It has nothing to do with self-love. I think
it is more doing with selfless, because
being selfless.
When you are, you mentioned arrogance. It is very kind of selfish act.
Yeah, it is.
And
it's a weak act.
Yeah.
And self-love, it is a state of mind for me. It is how you think, how you feel, and how you are.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
I had one more question about self-love that I wanted to ask you.
You sure you want to ask it still?
No, I wanted to know, like,
rose.
why is violence and self-love so often distant from one another? Because when you think of self-love, you think, like we just said, it's about being selfless. It's about doing the best for yourself and, by extension, also people around you. But why is it that self-love and violence are so distant? Because sometimes an act of violence can be seen as the result of love. Like, for example, a soldier going to war, they're saying, oh, he loves his country, that's why he's picking up a weapon and fighting for his country.
And that's not how do you connect this with self-love?
No, but my point is with love in general, right?
Yeah.
Because self-love is a form of love.
It's love you have for yourself.
Exactly.
And for your body, for your emotions, for your thoughts, for your mind.
Yeah.
And for the life, the gift you have. That's self-love.
Absolutely. But my question is, keeping that in mind, why is self-love and violence often distant? Why are they seen as opposites?
Well, I don't think I get your question, to be honest. Because violence, there's a reason why people, I don't think I understand how you compare these two or connect violence and self-love or love in general.
Let's say, completely hypothetical by the way, but let's say Alessandro in the next 10-20 minutes, he's like, you know what, Jîl, you're very egotistical and that makes you unlikable. So I reply, instead of using my words, I probably I punch him, right? I do something like that.
There must be something wrong with.
But isn't that also But isn't that also a form of?
Part of that anymore.
Isn't that also a form of loving yourself? Like you're not willing to let others step on you.
No, you will not harm people.
No, that's.
You will never harm anyone.
That part I don't understand. I don't understand how, even in the pursuit of I forgot the
Dude,
word. Preserving yourself, sorry.
No, but self-love is personal. Self-love has nothing to do with somebody else. So if you, for example, if you tell me that I'm the biggest piece of shit and I feel like punching you, then I do not love myself enough to be like, it's his opinion. It's nothing to do with me. It does not give me any value, or it does not mean any. Like,
but we're also
to me, because I love myself. I know that I'm great how I am. I know that I have a lot of mistakes. But because you call me a piece of shit, does not mean that
I'm a piece of shit because you.
No, absolutely, I'm with you there.
That's why I think self-love and violence is so like there's no comparison. Like, there's nothing to
I'm with you with like what someone says about me does not make me that thing, but at the same time we're social creatures. We live in a society where other people's opinions often affect us directly because reputations matter, because.
Social media.
Let me see one thing. If you think that all the things matter, it is your choice. So self-love in that example. If I react negatively, let us say that you in this situation, or if let us say some people react very negatively, for responding negatively to my videos or my appearance or whatever. The self-love here is that I do not engage in that conversation.
Exactly. You focus on your shit.
I choose.
So you step away from the negativity.
Exactly. I choose that. Let us say you say, Barikan, you are so annoying and you are so something, and I just say, oh, interesting, really. So it doesn't say anything about me. I say, okay, interesting, move on, and I will not participate in that.
Exactly. But
conversation, story, interaction, whatever it is. That's self-love, because I love myself and I know my values. I will not be a part of this.
I'm completely with you there. But let's say you're in a situation where someone does something or says something or acts on something which affects you in a very negative way. Like, let's say you lose your job because of it. Whatever. It's terrible for you, right? In a situation like that, where it has harmed you in a way, would an act of violence or choosing to interact with that person who's done that to you, would it fall out of the realm of self-love, because self-love is more about you and not the surroundings?
It's about being greater than the situation, greater than what I have been in that situation you are describing. I have been in that situation where one of my colleagues, it was very, very hard time. The only thing I could do was to say, I let this go, because this has nothing to do with me. I do not take it personally, first of all. And the whole thing is, self-love is to let the other go and not participate, because there is a reason why someone do not like me, or a colleague, or someone on the street, or a family member, or whoever it is. There is a reason, and that it's not necessarily something to do with me, but maybe there is something in her or his life.
Definitely.
But so can this form of love, this form of self-love, be applied even in our society, where so much is dependent on how we're seen?
Of course, it's up to you. It's a universal. It's an emotion. It's a state of mind. You can have it everywhere. It doesn't. That's why I say self-love is a state of mind where you know that you as a human being and your love for yourself is greater than the circumstances, the environment you are in, no matter where you are.
Okay. I think I understand it much better now. But I was always confused as to how to navigate like our society and also the concept of self-love, because all the questions I just asked, it's a little confusing to understand both sides. But yeah,
just saying violence is never acceptable.
I would disagree.
Never.
I wouldn't say
that.
No, I mean self-defense. Someone's attacking you.
That's not
different.
violence.
It is violence.
No, not at all.
Someone attacks you, you attack back.
Then it would be called self-violence. Then it would not be called self-defense, dude.
But Jîl, for some people, violence is it's something that gives them joy. Maybe this is love for them. Yeah. And there's a reason why people, they act as they act. I'm not justifying that violence is okay or whatever.
No, but if both parts are okay with it, like in boxing or whatever, you know, that's fine. If both parts, you know, sign up for it and they're like, it's a sport, they love doing the sport, or football, you know, when they start, like, not American football, you know, really tackling one another and they like that. Yeah. Do that. Go for it. You know, as long as nobody dies and everybody is playing after the rules they set.
There's consent.
But that's not violence as such. You know, like, it's not acceptable that, you know, I would stand up and slap her in the face just because I don't like her face. The other way around the same. You know, it's you know, if I'm really pissed off, I can leave. You know, if I really don't want to be here, I can leave. But violence is never acceptable.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on war in general? Like,
pisses me off.
Really?
Just the fact that my tax money goes to it pisses me off already, because I don't want to fund that. I don't want to fund, you know, like, any soldier. I don't want to pay any, or I don't want that, you know, the money I work so hard for goes to other institutions than schools and hospitals or old people, you know, whatever. I do not want that it goes to, you know, soldiers and, like, tanks and planes. I fucking hate that.
What do you think?
I am not for war. I'm absolutely against all kind of violence and war. And
would you say you're a pacifist?
Yes, okay. I am. And I grew up in war. I am born and raised in a refugee camp, and I know how ugly war is and can be, and how it destroys you emotionally, and what kind of scars it left. And at the same time, I am grateful. I do not wish what I have experienced, or any children in war experience. I do not wish it for anyone. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for having this past and experience this part of life in my lifetime. Because now I live in Denmark, and Denmark is an amazing country. It is really. It's a country of opportunity, peace, and all kind of freedom. But if I grew up in Denmark, only Denmark, I would not have the wisdom that I have today.
That's true.
And how I understand life and how I appreciate life.
You have to grow up faster when you are in those situations. You cannot really be a child, because their circumstances don't allow it.
That's one thing that I've really noticed since moving to Denmark. There are things that, and I don't know if that's perhaps the situation with you as well. I know with me and Barikan, and I know with Dani as well, who's on camera and audio right now.
Hey,
Dani was
taking a picture of himself.
Dani is Bosnian. He grew up at a time of the Bosnian War, and so I know that we understand certain aspects of life that, when I've had certain conversations with Danish people here, that they just don't understand because they haven't had those experiences.
I need to go back to that thing I say. I am a pacifist.
Pacifist.
I'm actually not sure I am.
Yeah.
I do. It's like.
You do condone war in certain situations?
No, in every situation. I'm never for war.
Okay.
But at the same time, when you have so much evil, and so much negativity, darkness in a part of this world, so how can we stay here and say, okay, something like ISIL is okay to have?
Yeah.
So absolutely. In this situation, I am some maybe in between. I'm maybe not totally clear about this part, but
it's difficult.
It is very difficult.
So no one here is Danish, or at least by birth. I wanted to talk to you guys.
One is a Danish passport.
Yeah.
Donnie!
Well, she does as well. She no, but I wanted to talk about just the experience of living up, like growing up in Denmark. Less for you and I, obviously, having lived here for 7 years. For you, it's 5. Screw you. No, but he's at 5 years and he's already getting his permanent residency, and I'm like, I'm still at 7. They're like, nah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
They just.
White.
He's white. Yeah.
You're white too.
Yeah. I'm white. I'm white-ish. No, but that's another thing we can talk about. Just how terrible the laws have become in Denmark nowadays for refugees compared to what they were before.
We're not going to talk about politics and all that?
I mean, no, that's so like we're talking about our society. No, but I wanted to talk about just the experience of growing up in Denmark as a non-Danish person. How's it been for you? Like, what were some things that have really stood up for you?
Well, for me, I'm very positive.
Okay.
And
self-love.
No, it has been a great journey.
Yeah.
I always say my journey has been kind of from nothing to everything.
May I ask, how many years do you live in Denmark now?
21 years.
21 years.
You were 9 when you came.
I was 11.
11?
Yes, I am very soon 32.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know you were 32.
Yes.
He thought
3
you were
weeks?
older.
No, he's lying.
I got slapped in there.
After the cameras are, I'm fucked. No, but
No.
Turn off the cameras.
For me, I always say my journey has been from the refugee camps to where I am now. It has been from nothing to everything.
Yeah.
And since I had this life in the refugee camps, there was a lot of experiences and moments in my childhood that did and has defined me as a person, the person I am today. And one of them was when I was 7 years old. I went to a local school every single day, and I was the refugee girl, Iranian Kurdish, and the rest were also Kurdish. We spoke the same language, and everything was the same. But the only thing was my parents was from Iran, and they fled to Iraq in the beginning of 80s. And these girls at the school, they had so beautiful shoes and dresses and school uniforms. And
that was in Iraq.
That was in Iraqi Kurdistan. There was some girls, they had these white ballerina shoes, and I was obsessed with these shoes. And for a very long time, I asked my mother if she want to buy me the shoes, and she always said yes. And one day I was in the yard in the refugee camp with my mother. She was washing clothes by hand, and we were alone. Yeah. So I asked my mother, I said, "Mother, when would you buy me the shoes?" Yeah. And my mother, she stopped, and she looked into my eyes, and she said, "Barikan, I cannot buy you those shoes because I don't have money. The money we have is your father's, and I'm not allowed to use them without asking him for permission." And then she said, "But if you want to not end up like me and all the women inside the camp and outside of the camp, you need to know how you earn money by using a pen." In this moment, my mother was telling me these words. I felt I could see my mother's soul. I could feel her pain and the shame and the guilt she felt in that moment. And from that day, she continued to say, "You need to know how you can earn money by using a pen and not being dependent on your father, on your brother, or a husband." And I knew what she was telling me. She was telling me, go to school, make sure you are a good student, and you will get education. You will earn your own money and not be dependent on someone just like me and all the other women inside the camp and outside of the camp. So that day, my life changed totally. I was 7 years old, and from that day, I was no longer a child. I started literally to create this dream and vision in my imagination, becoming a teacher and because I thought, okay, if I can get an education and I can get my freedom economically, I can teach other children to become free and independent.
So it's not to be like a school teacher.
No. Like the teacher is to teach others, others to become self-independent and make their own money and be free.
Also,
it's beautiful. That's amazing.
It's beautiful, yeah.
By the way, it's
like a
the story coming to Denmark. So that day we were in Erbil, and my family is UN quota refugees. So we went through a lot of conversation with UN in Erbil before we got our asylum to Denmark.
Yeah.
The day we were arriving? No, reise.
Leaving.
The day we left Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan, I was sitting in a bus waiting for my family outside, saying goodbye to my sisters and my brother because they couldn't come with us. They lived in Iran. We were very, very separated. The whole family. We are a big family. Everyone is separated. And my mother was crying, hugging her children and say goodbye. It was like, this is the last time you see your children and you need to say goodbye to them. I wished in my heart, I wish I could cry with my mother, but I couldn't because I was so happy to leave everything behind and start a new life and go to school and get my education. That was my only dream because during the war, the schools in Iraq, at least where we lived, was closed every single year. So sometimes we went to school for a month, and then the war started. They closed down for 6 months, and then you go again, and then close down, and it was this spiral for the rest of your life, and that situation created so much anxiety and
just
fear
anguish inside you
in me, and having this dream and this big dream, and I didn't know how to achieve it. But that day, leaving Erbil and seeing my mother crying, and she was devastated. I wish I could cry but I couldn't because I was so happy and grateful to say, now a new life will start. So for me, then life in Denmark has been so challenging, but because I had this dream in my mind,
it was pushing you forward all the time.
It has always been my only goal and my only, like a child, you need to
It's a beautiful story.
I remember.
Thank you.
It is absolutely a beautiful story. I remember when we left Kurdistan. I mean, I'm very privileged in a lot of ways. I never saw the hardships that you did and a lot of other Kurdish people did. My life was a comfortable life in Kurdistan for most of it. But then came a point where, like my parents worked very hard. They both worked very long hours. And they struggled a lot. Like they tell me stories about when they were young, when they first got married, they had to live in an apartment with 5 other families in Erbil because they couldn't afford it. Like they couldn't afford to live alone. And the way the situation was in the 80s, jobs, like finding jobs was like a whole other, like it was living in another world if you could actually find a job that supported your family. So because of all that they struggled through, they were like, our kids have to have a better life. I'm sure the same way your parents thought.
Absolutely.
And so we came here, and the same thing happened to my family. My brother, he couldn't come with us, so he was left in Kurdistan. And I remember my mom just like crying the entire flight, like 9 hours. 9 hours, she wouldn't stop crying. And it was an incredible. It was weird because I was like, I wasn't old enough to quite fathom everything, but I was also not so young that I didn't understand what was going on. And then we come here and things start to settle little by little. And like from, I wouldn't say nothing, I'm very lucky in the way I've lived. But from little, now we're sitting here in Aalborg recording a podcast. And and a lot of it goes to our parents. So bless them for that. Absolutely.
And the thing about the parents, they
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Our parents, they sacrifice a lot.
Absolutely.
And I see it every day, and also my work is I see it every single day. Both my parents, but also other people, and how separated they are from the rest of society. And a part of it is a choice they have made, but it is hard for people when they are 45
to integrate into the society.
Exactly, with all the trauma they have to integrate or adapt to in a very, very different,
completely different world.
Like completely different world, exactly.
Different language, different rules, different society, different people, everything changes.
It's very hard.
Climate,
but
everything you're used to, everything you call home is gone.
Your reason for coming to Denmark has been a very different.
Very different one.
You were.
So why did you come to Denmark?
Yeah, why did
you immigrate to Denmark? It's because we are the happiest people in the world.
Oh, but
and by
also
the way,
the highest
is the happiest
city
in the world. Yes.
But having said that, we should also point out Denmark. The year Denmark was voted the happiest country in the world, it was also statistically the highest consumers of antidepressants.
Exactly.
So
the way they measure this happiness thing is how safe do you feel in your environment,
job security,
and social security, and you have this.
But I think Denmark
it's a great, a little racist, but generally very great.
Yeah.
I had to. I mean, I've experienced it so much, like I had to say it.
I think you need to
cut that.
Otherwise, you'll never get your residence. You'll never.
No,
get
but
passport is gone.
Why did you come to Denmark? Like, how was your journey here?
I mean, I came here, like you said, due to a completely different reason. I'm from Austria, meaning it's a very stable, very secure country. Like I've never experienced war like you guys have. I mean, we are a war, driven country. I mean, we started 2 world wars, but when I was born in '95, there was since then.
95?
I'm 23 years old. Yeah.
That's the thing that always makes me think people are always blaming Germany, but nobody seems to realize Hitler was from Austria. Like he came from there. You guys,
pretty much, yeah.
You guys have done a lot.
Yeah, we started 2 world wars. Involved at least in the start of both of them.
You lost both.
No, but I grew up in a completely different world than you guys did. I mean, I grew up with I was pretty lucky. I mean, my parents were always pretty wealthy. I was professionally dancing. It's a very, very expensive sport. I mean, you pay for 45 minutes training, you pay between 700 and 1300 krona, which is like $100, between 100 and 200 euros, which is a shit ton of money for 45 minutes, and you have between 3 and 5 lessons a week.
Yeah.
Plus, you travel all around the world all the time. You don't earn shit in Latin dancing or ballroom dancing because nobody pays you for doing it. It's not like football, we have contracts and you get paid. So without your parents putting money into it, you have no chance of doing it. But I was doing it since I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old was when I started doing that. And then I moved to Denmark when I was 17 because my new dance partner was from Denmark. And I was living with her and her family in the north, Frederikshavn. Yeah. I was dancing for 2 years, then we were driving to Aarhus 2-3 times a week for training, and I was for training in Frederikshavn, and then on the weekends we were traveling, all around Europe to different competitions. So it was only dancing. That was my entire life, right? I wanted to be the best dancer on this planet. That was my end goal.
That's your attitude towards everything, though. I've known
no
Alessandro.
No matter what I do, I want to be the best. Yeah,
I've known Alessandro quite a few years now, and from the very first moment, you could get that vibe off him. Doesn't matter what he's doing, even in biology. You were trying. You were at least trying.
I was so bad in school.
You were, but you were trying.
But I dropped out of school in Austria. I was in a pretty cool school actually. It was based on industrial design, and we had photo studios and film studios. It was a really, really cool school. Like a school for the dream for every creative person, with amazing teachers and stuff. But I dropped out because I wanted, to pursue dancing. Came to Denmark, but I promised my parents that I would finish school here. So finished international education together with him. But I stopped dancing after 2 years in Denmark because it just didn't work out. A lot of things happened. And but that's pretty much why I came to Denmark, was because of dancing.
What about after dancing? Because that's what the viewers want to know.
That's what the viewers want. I became a porn star.
We actually
Why is everybody laughing about it?
No,
Would it not be like, no,
remember
cool?
when we were doing the show?
Oh yeah.
You told we were producing the show together. It's a very small indie project.
Yeah.
And I wrote the script. He was working on the production side, and then we were both acting in it. And so also casting fell on us as well. So, with us, we
had no
joke
idea
a
what
lot.
we were doing.
That's
why
why
we were doing everything.
No idea. That's why we don't have it. That's why we're on a podcast now. We don't have a show. I remember. Yeah, it was
really. It was like when you start painting. It's like of course it's bad. Like
I know everything about it.
Yeah, she paints as well.
I paint, and my sister, she visited me, and I had my paintings all over the house, and she was like, "What is this?" And it was like, "This is my art," and she was like, "Oh, it looks like some child just spread some colors."
But that happens to me now too. But now I know what I'm doing. I'm more confident. I have more experience. I know, and I have more. Like I know what I'm doing now. Like in the beginning it was just I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just doing just bad work. Like you said, it's just.
I don't do bad work. It is others judging my work.
Mine was just really
bad.
But
I'm absolutely not.
It's not bad. They just don't have the right perspective.
I have this. It's very beautiful.
You're ahead of your time.
You're ahead of your time. People don't understand you.
People don't understand it. Yeah.
It happens so often. No.
Like every painting, nobody gets it.
Nobody buys it.
What is wrong? They don't understand all this heart I paint.
In art, you have to die before you become famous. That's when you. That's
so interesting. You have to die before you die.
What?
No, it's like you have it's a struggle. Like you have to struggle and die through the process before.
Yeah.
Real dying is when you die while you are alive. Have you ever experienced that?
I'm not following at all.
Like depression? Are you No. You mean like depression?
I'm not following at all.
Continue.
I finished high school. I did not go further than that. So everything.
We're dumb. We're very dumb. We're artists.
So what happened to that dancer that wanted to be the best
in the world?
I just didn't enjoy it anymore. Like it was not fun for me anymore. It wasn't. The whole passion was gone.
Yeah.
And it was in a very, it was in a time it was very tough for me as well because it was in the same time my dad got cancer in Austria and I was here in Denmark. So I could not be there for my family. And I did not tell them about that I wanted to stop dancing because I was like, cancer is something way worse. Like they struggle so much. I'm not gonna bother them with my problems. And that's why I said, like when you're in a foreign country, you grow up really fast. Yeah. And I was 18 then, and suddenly, my childhood stopped. Because suddenly, I could not call my parents, or I did not want to call my parents anymore and be like, hey mom, I don't know how to figure that out, can you help me, blah, blah, blah. Because I was like, they struggle with something, that's so much worse than like what I'm going through. Like I gotta grow up and handle the shit myself. Yeah. I was very lucky that I still have and had an amazing girlfriend that was by my side, and her parents were amazing and still are amazing. So I had people that I could talk to and people that backed me up, but it was a very tough time. But I started painting, and then I got through my girlfriend. I got into this art studio here in Aalborg.
Street station.
Yeah, street station. And the fun thing was I called my mom actually, like, hey, can you because I was completely broke at that time, like I had no money at all. I was 18, 19 years old, going to school, like I had no money at all. And I was like, can you send me some money so I can buy a canvas? And she was like, oh, come on, you're going to paint one time, like.
Little did she know.
Yeah, just really. And I was like persistent. I was like, come on, please, just one time. And she sent me the money, and I made the painting. And I'm in the new studio, and it was so funny in the beginning. I was sitting like next to the bathroom door, just like in a small space like that, because the whole studio was filled with artists. So I just wanted to be there, I was just like, I'm gonna.
You wanted to belong to that.
Yeah, I wanted to take as little space as I can. I wanted to be there, like no matter how much space I have. No, I have the biggest space in the studio because I make the biggest paintings. But and I made the first painting and I sold it to a collector in Copenhagen. I posted it just on Instagram and he bought it, and I was like, for fuck's sake,
It's like the bug, like it's the same thing with acting. You start and everyone's like, are you sure? And then you do your first play, then and you feel that buzz, you know, you feel that,
you know, it was,
you just want to keep going.
You know, and also, but the thing, I you know, I never thought, like, I come from a town, you know, with 4,000 people, and there's, you know, art and artists and all the cultural stuff, you know, it's not worth shit. Be a farmer, you know, learn a job, like, real job, you know, like be a
so you're saying
like that.
So you're saying you're Kurdish, is that what you're saying? Because we have the same thing. Like,
really?
Yeah, like don't like in our
just
culture.
Learn something real. Like,
do something real.
Yeah, just
do something
become
real.
A doctor.
Become a lawyer.
Oh, that's
a
already,
lawyer.
No, that's already too far. Like
engineer.
University is already far ahead. Like become a carpenter. Like that's something.
That's the height of ambition.
Yeah, you can build your own house. You can, you know, work a little bit, earn some black money. That's. No, and so earning, you know, money with anything artistic, like dancing was already extreme. Going to Denmark was extreme, but painting, you know, like was completely out of this world. But suddenly I was like, I cannot be that bad if people want to buy it. Yeah. And I was like, shit, you know, first of all, I can earn some money with that. You know, there's actually a career in that. Like, it's not just a hobby. Like, I could actually make something out of that. Because in dancing I was not used to it. You know, in dancing it was only about, you know, get a place, go home again. There was no real career in it as such, unless you become a trainer at one point or a coach. But until that point, you only spend money. So you have to have a side job. So I could actually earn money with something I love doing, and it was fun. So I had that passion again. I missed in dancing. And
I remember during that time, you would invite me to the studio once in a while, and it was just like. The studio was just incredible.
What the hell is this guy doing?
No.
He still says that. More than ever.
No, he sends me a painting every now and again. I'm like, not working. Try again. No, but
I'm not going to buy it. Sorry.
No, but like just going to a studio was incredible because you're just surrounded by all these creative people, all these beautiful paintings, and it's just the best kind of atmosphere. Like whenever I wouldn't be able to write, or I would just be down. I'd just go to the studio, and it would just reinvigorate me. Like all these people are doing what they love. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna write the best story. And and then you did your first show.
Yeah, I did a lot of shows, and I posted everything on Instagram, and I started realizing, how important marketing is. Because most artists don't get that. Most artists, they focus on that stuff, on painting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they forget the side, that actually
it's not
makes
even
a living. Yeah. And I mean, the whole financial side, that's what, what allows you to do bigger works, more works, that allows you to spend more time in the studio. And I was very focused on that, and I was very in the beginning already aware of, to be able to do what I love doing, I need to earn money by doing it. And I did commission works, like stuff that was not so fun, but that allowed me to do the stuff that was really fun. It's, and I did not have to get a side job. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was applying for a side job at McDonald's. They didn't take me. They are literally
imagine being rejected from McDonald's.
But how I gave them my application? Drive-in. I ordered that.
Well, let's be honest. You didn't want that job.
You didn't want that job.
I got the food, and I was like, and here's my application. And it was.
At least he went there with his application.
Yeah.
And maybe he tried to give a good
I was like,
hey, I really like the food. I buy something. By the way, I really would love to work here with you guys.
You give me something, I give you something. You scratch my back,
But I was in that time I was a little too I don't need that. I don't want to have a normal job. Now I would be like, if I need the money, I collect bottles and bring them to the what's it called? So I get pent.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's like in English. It's just like recycling bottles.
Yeah, I would do that if I need the money. Like back then, that was okay. Now we talked 3 years ago.
But like
I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
That's a common thing with artists as well. Like in general, and
it's just an arrogant young
we think we're too good for this. I'm not gonna find a job. I'm too good for this. I'm talented. Fuck it, just be real.
And I grew up with with money never really having been a problem.
Yeah.
And so I was I can make it. Fuck it, I'm not gonna go down there and do a regular job kind of thing. Although I worked as a dishwasher in Frederikshavn, so it was my only job ever, and was the hardest job I ever had.
Yeah.
So I was not too good to have a real job at McDonald's and stuff like that. I was like, I'm not gonna, I give
them. You guys have been really privileged.
I was super.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I had a super privileged childhood. I really did, and I'm really grateful to
I'm
my
not talking
parents.
only about the child, I'm talking also about the like 19, 18, 20, and I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this. Come on, it is about to...
But I was doing, you know,
No,
I was putting all my work into my whole art thing. So I was not, you know, just sitting at home being like, you know, life is going to be easy. I was used to working hard for what I wanted to do because that's what I got from dancing. You know, I was used to getting beat down all the time and getting, you know, I mean, dance coaches are probably some of the hardest people you know. They tell you literally, like, you pay for a lesson where they tell you how bad you are. Like, literally, they do that. Like, when they hit you and all that and tell you that you're shit.
That's like the Instagram you talked about. Like people, they really work hard to do their music videos or whatever they do, post on Instagram. And that people who are tired of their own lives and then they put their own negativity as a comment. It's almost like that.
But the thing is, you have to take those lessons because they are the greatest coaches you can have, but they're just really honest, you know? They're just like, your technique is shit. They don't tell you, you know, you could be better. They're just like, you know, your technique is crap. You have to work on it.
I think that's what like has made you the successful artist you are today. Because so many artists that I know personally, they focus a lot on the creative side, which is good. You should focus on the creative side. But at the same time, they refuse to accept that art is also a business. Art is a business, whether we like it or not. Writing books, painting, music.
Music, Donnie.
Donnie. Donnie's a rapper. So,
he's not here.
He's not here.
No one knows he's here.
Should he be working?
No, but like you have to accept that it is a business and you have to approach it as a business. And so many young artists fail at their creative field because they don't accept that. And you have to take care of the business side as well as the creative side.
Definitely.
And that's what's I think made you successful. And you are successful now, aren't you?
I'm doing very well now. Yeah.
Doing well.
It was long road. I'm doing this in 3 years, and I'm
so hard. 3 years of just free money.
But you know, it's not like a lot of people imagine. You know, being an artist is, you know, that kind of that free life. You know, you do your work whenever you want, whenever, you know, the inspiration hits you. It's not like that at all.
No.
It's a 24/7 job. You know, it's like having your own company.
You need structure. You need structure. That's like
and you need to be in the studio. You know, like a shit ton of hours because you know you have to make a shit ton of paintings. You know, until one painting actually gets somewhere. Yeah. And you have to contact galleries. And I know that a lot of other artists told me don't text, you know, galleries. They're not gonna reply. And actually, I sent around 200 emails out to different galleries, being like, look at my stuff. You know, do you want to represent me? And I got like 199 no's or no answers at all. Some of them were nice, where they're like, you know, we're looking for something else, blah, blah, blah. And then one gallery actually, you know, liked my stuff. And lucky thing was the gallery was based in Miami. And from that moment on, everything started changing. Yeah. From that moment on, you know...
You were in Art Basel, weren't you?
This last year, Art Basel, Miami, yeah. But like the year before, I was out there too, but just to meet my gallery out there and stuff. And suddenly, you know, like a gallery in Austria got, you know, because I was in the newspaper suddenly, and suddenly like bigger collectors, real collectors started approaching me because they read it in the newspaper, you know. Because Art Basel Miami, it's pretty much the biggest art fair on this planet, like the most important one. Big deal. And you know, when they heard that I was exhibiting with a gallery there, suddenly they were like, oh, he must be good. Because, you know, my work was the same, but the whole market, like, suddenly, you know...
It's the perception. It's the perception
of that.
Exactly. And suddenly, you know, my name started being worth a little, like, more than it was before. Even though the work did not change. I mean, my work changed a lot over the last 3 years, but not that drastically that I say, you know, why is my work now worth 10 times more than it was 3 years ago? You know?
So, you do a lot of abstract work.
Yeah.
And Aya, who's from the Highly OK podcast, she's a painter herself. She actually did a show last year, and she does beautiful work. And she wanted to ask you, would you ever... Oh no, first she wanted to know, what do you think of classical art?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah? Would you ever do it?
I don't think
in that style?
I don't think I'm able to. Honestly, I think that's some of the greatest art out there.
Okay.
Like, I don't think I would be able to paint, like, you know, the real classic masters.
Because is it the style and the structure, or is it like just not the way you like to express yourself?
First of all, it's the whole, technique behind it. It's incredible work.
Yeah.
And I think it's, second, it's not my interest to paint that way, but I would love to be able to paint it, of course, because, it's
beautiful
work.
It's beautiful.
One of my favorite painters is Caravaggio, and the way he uses light is incredible, and I don't think I could paint that way. I mean, he was working his entire life to master that, and I'm too young to be able to say that I can do that. I wish maybe one day I can paint like that, but it's not my interest for now, at least, to work in that direction.
She also wanted to know, would you ever stop doing abstract and do more realism or another style of art?
I experiment a lot in general with my styles, and some things are more figurative, some things are more abstract. So I don't like when artists do like one thing for the entire life.
Yeah.
I think it's so boring. When you go to a show, it's like, oh, it's a typical whatever Picasso. I mean, not saying Picasso is bad. Like you get me, right? When you see that every painting,
is the same.
Yes, and it's like 10 years. I'm like. Yeah. We've seen it 10 years ago. It's kind of boring because like no matter what you do, if it's music or whatever, or film, innovation is key. And I think as an artist, you have to be, innovative. You have to be, daring to try something different.
Take some risks.
Yeah, and rather than being like, okay, I know that shit sells well, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life because I know that people want that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest mistake most artists make, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it gets boring. But it's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's
but art itself is subjective, so...
Yes, but no. The art is subjective, but the art market is not. And the art market, decides what's good and bad art, because that the art market decides what sells and what does not sell.
Yeah.
I mean, Larry Gagosian decides, if you exhibit in my gallery, you are a master artist.
Yeah.
That's what he decides. It's not what your paintings decide or your photographies or whatever. It's what the biggest gallery and the most important gallery on this earth decides when they take you in.
So it's all about the market. Almost all about the market.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the studio and work, it's not about the market.
Yeah,
then you should really express who you are. But when you're outside the studio, it's all about the market.
When you're selling,
like in every other industry.
Yeah. We've been talking for just over an hour. So I think we should start wrapping up. Before we go, where can the good people of Hailioki find you online on social media?
Instagram.
Well, tell them.
Just put it in like.
We'll put it in the description. And Barikan, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. I am Barikan.
Instagram.
And on YouTube, Barikan.
Yeah.
That is all my live video. I do sometimes live videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They can find me there. Otherwise, they can follow me on Instagram.
One at a time.
Before we go, there was one last question that San, also from the Hailioki podcast, wanted to ask Barikan. He wanted to know, is there someone that there's obviously a lot of people that look up to you and admire you, but is there someone that you admire and look up to? And if there is there something you would like to say to them?
We talk since.
You are so. No, I do not look up to you. Obviously. No. Well, there's a bunch of people. I have had people through my life who has inspired me.
Yeah. So,
in different places in my life, in my journey, there has been different people.
Yeah.
So, there is people, and I'm very grateful that they has been there. And some of them are I don't know them in person, but often it is people within the business field or in politics or artists. There's a lot of people who had inspired me and empowered me.
Yeah.
And often it's people who has really this authentic power to be themselves and lead a life, a conscious life.
So what would you like to say to them?
Oh, I'm so grateful that they exist and they have been there to share with the world their life or their lifestyle and values. and I have been a part, or they have been a part of my journey, and I have been a part of their journey. That is, and I use them as my imaginary mentors.
So you might, for example, think, what would Gary Vaynerchuk do?
No, it's not him. But,
not
but
him?
Yeah, not him.
Okay.
But yeah, like what would this person say in this situation? But often I see what they have done in their life, and that is also very inspiring and empowering.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us on the Highly OK podcast. Guys, you can find these guys on Instagram and on all platforms of social media. We'll put the accounts in the description below. And before I go on, I want to clarify one thing. So my social media will be in the description. I want to clarify one thing about the whole Shad has a foot fetish thing. He absolutely has a foot fetish thing. Don't believe if he says no, he has it. All right, those of you who watched the Instagram live episode will know what I mean. Anyways, thank you for joining us today, and thank you guys for watching. We're